Recording.
Oh, you're pop locking.
Sucio talk.
Hey.
In the
Have to
middle
get a
of trying to
bite.
dessert. We got to get a bite. Hold on.
That's a big
God
bite.
damn, Chef. I'm not going to have another bite for a while.
That's pretty rich.
But, you know.
Pace yourself.
So we're here with some celebrities in the building, all right? As you know, we got our regular Nico Pena. This is the third time that he's been on the show. This is the second chef's panel. First one was you, Charlie, and Andres a year ago. Thank you for that. And now we got some new chefs in the building. Tiffani, Andy. We are slow burn. So earlier I asked some people to ask some questions.
Yeah.
So the only question I got was, are you slow burn? That's it. Some asshole cook out there. His name is Mark Rodriguez. And he's fucking. He's living in D.C. So he'd like to know,
Piece
are
of
you
shit.
slow burn? Yeah. That's what I thought too. You know, fucking. So slow burn. What's the deal? How'd you come up with the name and the concept?
Tiff's got the spiel down a little bit better than I do.
Oh, I do?
Yeah.
I guess I'm taking
Yeah.
the lead. Oh, tippy.
Yeah.
I was, so Andy didn't like our original name from when we were working together in 2017. It was Uprooted. Similar concept, except with way less of a budget and way less cool.
What?
Mostly farm geared pop-ups and things like that. It was the first time that he had left Rustic. And so we felt that we needed to rebrand if we were going to do this again 8 years later. And we just kind of outgrew the concept and the name. So Slow Burn came about when I was getting tattooed at our friend's shop because I was getting a heartburn tattoo. And Andy
Okay.
was like, Slow Burn kind of describes what we do. Everything takes a lot longer, but we try to do things the best and the right way,
Right.
even though it does take a little bit more time and work, effort. So we decided we were going to call the tour Slow Burn.
Okay. How'd you decide to go on tour?
I guess a combination of things. I've never traveled. I've never really been anywhere. So now I've been to most states and a lot of cool restaurants that I hadn't had the opportunity to eat in. And we still have another at least 6 months to go.
Yeah. We've been on the road 9 months now, which is crazy to say.
Yeah.
But we also both have a background in music. I used to book shows before culinary school, and Andy used to drum professionally, so touring kind of felt like it fit our weird alternative lifestyle.
Right.
And kind of like our perspective of cooking. We also really, really wanted to work with other chefs when we were doing this because we've just been working under the hub of our own, like my private work or him working at a restaurant, and we just wanted a way to kind of like hit the road and just work with chefs around the country, like meet all of our Instagram friends in person, essentially, and just kind of like try on different hats. Every time we go to a restaurant, we're cooking there usually for the first time ever with an entire new staff. And so if we do open a brick and mortar, we're going to be pretty well learned by then because we've been able to try on all of these different hats through the safety of like this slow burn umbrella.
Got it. Have you chosen where you would open your brick and mortar?
We have we've been narrowing it down, I would say.
Yeah. We know where we wouldn't.
Yeah.
That's for damn sure.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
But that is a really weird phenomenon that's been happening. I feel like everybody experiences it when you've been, friendly with somebody on Instagram or whatever for years, and then you meet them in person. It's like, do I actually know you, or is this the first time? Like, do I still have to introduce myself?
Yeah.
It's just
Do I hug you? Do I shake your hand? Is it a fist pound? There's always that awkward interaction in the beginning.
yeah.
They're like Facebook friends.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It used to be when you really hated someone, you were like, well, delete them off Facebook. And then you knew
Yeah.
the friendship was over.
Yeah.
It's a little bit harder because now we've met them in person, so we can't delete them.
Exactly.
Not that we've had any negative interactions.
Now
It's
they'll
been
be like-
really overwhelmingly positive.
I'll be like, why did they unfollow me?
There you go.
It's like, oh.
Nico's like, what the fuck's going on? So how did you meet Nico? We'll let
I
Nico
mean,
tell that story.
I met
What's
you
up?
at the farmer's market, but on
Yeah.
Instagram first.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, I think just on Instagram.
Yeah.
And then when you guys did the Osito pop up,
Yep.
we met there for the first time. And then like every year, well, not every year. Last year we did a big collaboration series, and then you guys announced your slow burn tour, and we reached out to him for this year's collaboration series too. So we just met organically through Instagram.
Right.
As organic as Instagram
Yeah.
can be.
Yeah, organic in this new world.
So there's a lot of chefs out there that do pop-ups,
Yeah.
right? But there's a lot of chefs out there that don't do pop-ups, right? So what is the first step, right? You get your name, you know, we're doing a pop-up. What is the first step like? Do you get your talk account ready? Do you, you know what I mean? Like what, the website, like the menu, what's first?
Yeah, I mean, I think ours was a little different because we had some of the infrastructure in place already because Tiff has been doing this on her own
Right.
while I was in a restaurant. But like filing the LLC forms and all that, that was a big deal.
That was a big deal. But you can start without doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like I definitely did things a really sketchy way at first. I mean, I decided where I wanted to cook by kind of figuring out what the hours of operation were in restaurants that I thought were cool. And I just kind of was like, hey, on the days you're not operational, can I do my own concept? And in exchange, I'll give you guys a cut of the till, or in exchange, I can do consulting work for you. There's a lot of bartering that goes on, and so I don't think that it's necessary to do it totally legally at first. I
Right.
think that that's something that kind of came naturally once you came on board, because we were just like, okay, we need to be legit, because we're going to be traveling and doing this, and health department won't like this.
Do you have to deal with the health department? 'Cause you're a
No, we
traveling
moved
band?
too fast.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You're just in
Try
and
and
out.
catch me.
Yeah.
You guys like Bonnie and Clyde? It's like-
The poor man's Bonnie and Clyde. It's
Instead of
them
just
and their
put-
ferments against the world.
Instead of just putting the sous vide bags in the garbage, you guys are like driving off a cliff. Don't fucking, come on. No need to do that. So tonight's menu. Let's go down the line. Collaboration is always a lot of ideas bouncing back and forth. Was there dishes that you guys just do where you know, like, this is slow burn, we do these dishes no matter what?
We usually do the pork chop with the whey sauce and the trout roe.
It's our Big Mac.
You know, I don't.
Change it.
I'm not like tired of doing it, but I am tired of doing it. But also, you know, like people ask us to cook the
Yeah.
fucking pork, so we do it, and
Yeah.
that's almost always on the menu.
Right.
And then
We have like
got lost.
we have a recipe for our menus usually. Like we have like kind of a doc where it's a breakdown, and this was actually inspired by our time at Osito, where when we do solo ones, it's like this is a broth course or a tea course, like something hot. And then we go into snacks. We're going to do 3 to 5 snacks. So that way when we're looking at menus, because we make so many menus back to back for all our events and stuff, it's just a little bit easier because then we can say, okay, let's focus in on the broth. What's the broth going to be? Let's focus in on this intermezzo instead of like looking at an entire menu. And
Right.
Nico actually sent a doc that was very similar where it was like his breakdown, and we were like, oh shit, so we just need to fill in what snack we're doing. We just need to fill in, you know, what dessert we're doing, what snack we're doing for, you know, miniardies. So,
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Today was cool because we decided the menu much sooner than we normally do. And we kind of came in, we made our base prep, and then we kind of finished a lot of the seasoning for sauces and broths today with stuff from Nico's Larder, which was really cool. That's kind of our favorite part about it.
yeah, getting to play in somebody else's larder is really
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're going to bring some stuff in trade tomorrow. So.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Pokemon cards.
There you go.
Yeah.
In every state we stop in, we leave something behind and we take something with us. So it's really fun to kind of like take little bits and pieces of seasons from different states around the country and to be able to like expand upon that in our own condiment that we're using something they gave us and then like sharing that with another chef and then they
Right.
give us something in exchange. It's it's not really something that we actively talk about, but it's something that happens naturally, so it's really
Right.
fun.
Yeah, like we were tasting through some of the things that, like I have an R larder here, and then they brought their stuff, like that barbecue sauce from Beets and Sunchoke Juice was amazing. And then, like we were just talking, for me, it's really great to be able to share those things, and like the way they finish some of their dishes with our stuff from the larder. It's great to see like other people use these products. Yesterday, you found the toasted fig leaf oil, and then put it into the cookies, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah, he wasn't even here. I just started rummaging through the freezer.
Which I think is the funnest part, and like a lot of like the menu, you know, development. Like we created this Google sheet, and it has like a breakdown of like what we normally do for our tasting menu: 4
Right.
bites, salad and a pasta, and then 2 entrees, and then dessert. It's really cool to be able to collaborate with them because there's these similar ethos of like trying to utilize everything, or especially what's in season, but then like utilizing every part of it. And to be able to collaborate with them was really cool, and develop these dishes that kind of happen organically with like their style and things that like their Big Mac, like your pork chop, and then just seeing everything else is really cool, and
Yeah.
developing new dishes is always really fun.
Got you.
Menu happened pretty naturally.
Yeah.
And then like the custard is a good example too. It's just it's seasoned with mushrooms from his larder, and it's like mushroom garum pulp that was dried after making the garum, and we used it to steep into the cream like tea. And so it's just like little bits and pieces of their larder mixed with things from our larder, and they
Yeah.
just kind of mesh well together.
That's delicious.
Yeah.
We used to do that with the beef garum we made. We would dry we call it the lees.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you just salt.
Yeah.
Basically, just throw it on everything.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have like potato and leek that I call like ramen spice.
Oh.
It just tastes like, it smells like ramen.
It
bro.
does smell
It's
like
so good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We had
dehydrated mirepoix.
Yeah.
That's ramen. All day.
Dehydrated mirepoix.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's like literally. We used to do it for this duck tea thing where we made a duck broth, and then you'd get a little tea bag, and then we'd pour the thing just
Yeah.
to fortify it. That shit's just like, that's what ramen is basically, plus MSG.
That's true.
I mean,
yeah, it
it's
is. That's
just
cool.
it's fucking good.
Yeah.
You know, it's really good seasoning for wings.
Ooh.
I
Yeah,
didn't think to do that. We
Yeah.
were just at Dave and Buster's yesterday, and I didn't have
Oh.
anything like that.
dude.
That would have taken the. That's a slow burn twist right there.
Dude, Dave and
Let's-
Buster's.
Yeah.
Let's
I
take
know, right?
trash food and make it like sustainable.
There you go.
That's kind of like our move.
I like that.
Trash kid food, except at a higher price point.
Well, it's not. I think that's the other conversation too. Is like this no waste and all these things. It's not cheap to do, and I'm always really impressed with like how you guys have been doing the tour, and how you can bounce from place to place, and like you were talking about kind of how you market it, and like how you come up with your prices with like considering your B&Bs and your traveling, and you guys like, where was your last stop? And then you came here. Was it Montana?
Montana.
Montana. Yeah.
That's
And
the
then
last
they
one.
drove
driving?
all the way here.
That-
You guys driving?
Yeah,
Yeah.
always.
Yeah, they drove all the way here.
We
Like
have a-
that's
I know something about that.
that. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. I mean, I've made that drive from
Yeah.
Wyoming to here.
I tell you what, man, you find out shit about yourself when you're in that car for so long.
Find shit about your husband.
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
Your
Just
dogs.
like you're constantly learning.
Yeah.
It's just like a fucking dude. Turn
we-
on the camera, guys. That's all I'm saying. So it's
Listen
like-
to a lot of podcasts.
yeah, I bet you do.
We've put on, I think, 15,000 miles on the car in the last
Ooh.
like.
We have to get
4
an oil
months.
change every time we stop to cook.
Yeah.
yeah, that
hear
makes
you.
Pretty
sense.
fucked up.
Yeah.
But we have like a more eco-friendly car, so it makes more sense than flying out to a
Flying
guest chef
out.
gig. We get to bring our larder with us, you know, so there's no surprises or anything like that. So
Do you ever forget something?
Oh yeah.
every
Like,
fucking
Oh
time.
my
I have
gosh.
so many good spoons spread across
Oh
America.
no. I'm like, can you please ship this to me?
Yeah, I know.
I'm gonna be cooking at this
Every time.
restaurant. FedEx,
Yeah.
please.
There's black garlic scapes somewhere in Texas right now.
Yeah. no.
Oh.
We always
Black
forget
garlic
something.
escapes.
Yeah, there's always something that gets forgotten. At least one thing.
Okay. How are you keeping the ferments at the right temperature while you're driving? Like, Do you bring them in the hotel room with you? Like, are you feeding starters in the shower?
Literally.
Yeah.
We pasteurize, we dehydrate. We travel with our dehydrator. We have a bunch of like airlocks and stuff like that that we use.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we can everything. Any active ferments like garums and stuff. I mean, it's got airflow in there, and it's also like lined with plywood, so there's no light that's getting into the trailer. So we just remember to stir them. If there's any temperature scares or anything like that, which luckily we haven't had,
Just a board
you
mission.
just take it out and just move it into the B&B.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So fancy. So many wild yeasts across the country.
Hey, that's a selling point.
There you go.
I mean, it's a little bit of, it tastes like America.
Whoa, that's the next shirt.
Whoa, next concept.
Tastes like America.
Tastes like America.
Tastes like America. Dehydrated mirepoix.
Dehydrated mirepoix. My goodness. The
Like-
cuisine's getting funkier and funkier as we move on here.
Certainly. I have some bear garum working in the back of the trailer. right
Really? Where'd you get bear?
Montana.
Montana.
now. People give us stuff all the time.
That's dope.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
you know,
pretty fun.
No, you're just not allowed to sell it.
yeah, I
I
think you
probably
can
won't
eat it,
either.
right? Like grizzly?
Black bear.
Okay, got it. Yeah, because the guy who killed the
Oh, what, are
grizzly,
you not
like,
impressed
I
now?
want to meet him. Yeah.
You were like, oh. Black bear.
those are like house cats over there.
Dime a dozen.
Dude, I mean, when I got to Wyoming, they're like, here's a gun, here's your bear spray. Don't die. Okay.
She's got bear mace.
I do.
Yeah.
Don't know where it is, though. So, fuck.
Well, good thing you're in California.
Well, maybe if they smell the bear, they won't approach us.
Yeah.
They're like,
Probably
fuck.
the San Francisco judge probably has that can of fucking bear spray. Spraying those homeless people. Is it too soon? Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Maybe it doesn't taste like America.
So, first course. What do we got?
First course, so from us, we did a Frito Misto. So right now, at this point in the season, we have asparagus coming from Zuckerman, and then we got these really beautiful baby favas where you can eat the whole thing. Both of those got dipped in a tempura batter, and then we got artichokes coming from Lonely Mountain that just got confit and fried, and then we do it with a green garlic mayonnaise. Good night, Frankie and Santos. Ciao.
Peace out, Frankie and Santos. Nos vemos. Oh, yeah.
So that gets made with the green garlic tops. We make that into an oil, and then we turn that into mayonnaise. And then we did bamboo shoots. So we get bamboo shoots from GG Farms. They have them for the next week. And I treat it like an artichoke here. I think the biggest thing is trying to utilize the best products possible around here, but not also trying to do bamboo shoots and doing something that I'm not familiar with. So we cook it in Baragold. And so I just treat it just like an artichoke in that way. And we serve it with preserved yuzu that I got from Kibo. Preserved it back in December. And then it got a little bit of fennel and just some finishing soft herbs. So that was our first course that we contributed. And then
Where do we go from there?
We got two things. We were gifted some beautiful fish this morning.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Our friend Otto.
Yeah. Our friend
Of
Otto.
course, his
was
name
just-
is Otto. He's
Yeah.
got fish.
He sounds like he's just got the good fish.
It's either that or mushrooms.
Yeah, yeah. It's got whatever you need. Right? We've got a guy for everything. But yeah, Otto dropped off this beautiful halibut that he fished this morning. So it was literally just swimming before we broke it down. And we dressed it in a beeswax tea. So it's local beeswax that we just steep in warm water. We don't really exceed 145 degrees because we lose some of those floral notes. So we cut it with just a little bit of Meyer lemon and some honey and one of the vinegars from Nico's Larder.
We kicked in canary melon vinegar and then hominy shiokoji.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we had some fresh cherries, cilantro flowers, sea salt, just really simple. Nothing that would overshadow the fish. I mean, it was just really amazing fish.
Yeah. And we did a beef heart tartare tartlet. Beef heart tartare tartlet.
One more time.
Yeah.
Tartar tartlet.
Tartar
Beet heart
tartlet.
tartar.
It's like
just-
horrorcore rap.
She sells seashells by the seashore.
Yeah, just in a nice little tart shell, dressed with some elderberries, some chopped herbs, and then some cured goose yolks.
Yeah, we got gifted some goose eggs in Montana, and we're lucky enough that things cure.
Goose eggs?
Yeah. Poor goose. The egg yolks are like this big.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't want to be that goose.
Right. Those, reminds me of Nacho Libre, those eagle eggs are alive. All right. 2 dishes. We going back to you over here?
So, well, actually, if the progression stays the same, we should start with them and the salad for the next course.
Yeah, we did a little endive number, Belgian endive dressed in a vinaigrette that we made from all the cherry pits from the crudo. Just kind of blitzed that into oil with some Dijon and white balsamic. The fresh cheese, very bottom of the bowl. We always try to make
Scoop and swoop.
fresh cheese because we use the whey for
Another catch line.
the pork dish. So there's fresh cheese, there's fried pecans, and then we did some calcified chewy strawberries.
Right.
That are cooked in blood orange vermouth from Mom and Pop.
I love Mom and Pop.
Mom and Pop.
Yeah, they make this
Vermouth
really
fare.
beautiful vermouth, I believe from Chardonnay grapes.
Yeah.
And then they season their vermouth with citrus from local surrounding farms and
Oh,
orchards.
yeah.
So they have some specialty ones that are only available in limited numbers, like certain times of year. And the blood orange one is so good. We just use it as seasoning at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Shout out to Jared.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
he
Jared's
just-
the one who gave it to me.
Not that Jared. Not Subway Jared. Jared from Mom and Pop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In case you
definitely.
guys were confused, if anybody out there.
Definitely not.
Jared from Subway.
Just for clarification.
So niche.
The kids these days, they don't know who that is. So
It's
who
probably
gives a
better.
fuck, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, that probably is better.
Where were we? Endive.
And then, so for our pasta course, we did a nudie. So it's a ricotta dumpling. So it's the name translates to naked because it looks like basically a ravioli filling without the noodles around it. So there's a couple inspirations from this dish. It's something I've been running for spring. It features the entire fava bean plant. So right now we just got fava beans in, but for the longest time it had fava leaves that we do 2 ways. We do some of them in dumplings, so there's green and white dumplings, and then there's a mint and fava green puree on the bottom. And then we do the flowers. We finish it with pecorino and black pepper, lemon zest. It's like a super traditional flavor profile in Italy. But, you know, we went and took a tour of Double 8 Dairy, and I was talking to Andy, and I've been using his cheeses for a while, and he's just mentioning now, like, his milk production goes up, but then he's starting to see, like, a dip in orders. So I was like, well, okay, what can I do to, like, really feature his cheeses and stuff? So the ricotta was a big thing for that, and then trying to create a dish that, for me, a lot of the challenge this year is, like, last year and before 2023, it was really about changing the menu all the time in any way I could. But now focusing on like Nudie, for example, like this dish features fava as a plant. So now that we have beans, it's like it's a new evolution of it, and it'll continue to change throughout the season as like the beans get more developed. Like these ones are super tender, so they just go in raw in the glaze, and they just get like just slightly cooked. So just trying to feature that, and again, it's like a dish we're doing, but I thought it fell in really well with the menu that we have because of like featuring every part of the plant in the dish, and then also trying to really like utilize as much cheese from Andy at Double A Dairy. So that was our pasta course for today. And then entrees, we did rockfish, and like I recently did a interview for Edible SF about the salmon season closure, which is a bummer. And
Did that close early?
It's closed in like for the season. They're not doing salmon.
¿Qué?
Yeah, in California, I think Washington's got suspended, and then Alaska, because a lot of water got diverted to like farms and stuff like that during the drought, and then they're trying to like recruit everything, so they're not doing salmon this whole year. But then what's crazy is that like Otto was saying about like earlier today that like salmon's taking, everyone's fishing for salmon, or not everyone's, sorry. Otto was talking about how everyone's fishing for like halibut and stuff like that. So like, who knows what the effects are going to be, because salmon is such a prolific seafood out here that like when it's on
every menu.
You don't see black cod anymore. You don't see rockfish or any of these things, right?
Has that happened before?
No.
They shut the season down completely?
No.
That's,
not that I've ever, not since I've been cooking up
that's
here.
really scary to think about the other implications of that.
Yeah.
For sure. And there's like, who knows what it's going to look like next year?
Yeah.
You know, like the population is obviously going to be better, but who knows what it's going to look like in, you know, September this year with like black cod and halibut and all these other fish that don't normally get used. So we'll see what happens. But the inspiration of this dish was cioppino, thinking about like what is something that's truly San Franciscan. And so we make like a cioppino base. We do clams, beans, and then I do leekscapes. And I think like, you know, I don't want to harp on like the fermented part of everything and all that stuff that we do, because I think one thing I want to make clear is that, and that's why I really love working with Andy and Tiffani and like collaborating in this aspect. It's not so much to do it just to be clever or just to do it, because it's like you really have to like understand why, and in some sense you have to have some foresight like why you're going to use this. Like I was talking to them and like I made this kohlrabi puree of like kohlrabi trim I was making from noodles, and I just salted, and I was like, dang, I wish I would have kept like more of it because it turned out good. But like we have leekscapes on this dish where we ferment them and they just turned out really good. They have like this beautiful texture after like 4 weeks of fermenting, where it's almost like it's been blanched. It has like a nice bite. It's sweet. It's still like, it's not like super funky, but, and honestly, if you tasted it like in the entire dish, you're not like, oh my God, that's fermented. For me, it's like, there's a part of me like working at Quince and working with Tusk for so long that like I just buy all these things because I go crazy. I'm like, oh, these are all the leekscapes and there's only 12 bunches. I want them all. You know, I get there first, so I'm like, I want to buy them all. You know,
Get there bright and early.
Yeah. But then like Jack, my girl cook, he's like, yo, we got too much. And I'm like, okay, well, we got to salt them and save them. And then now there's no leekscapes around. I mean, there's scallionscapes and garlicscapes, but
Like, guess who got leekscapes?
but we have them, and,
That's right.
and they're still really good.
That's
and we
right.
just give them a good grill, and it's not about like fermenting to like be like, oh, this is fermented. It's there because we preserved it, and it's still really good, and we can utilize it in a similar aspect.
Yeah.
And we don't have to blanch it.
Yeah.
Give it a quick grill and marinate it in its own leek oil.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then
We did the
And then it's the Big Mac.
the Big Mac, yeah, with the Big Mac
baby.
sauce.
Get
But
it
you
with
guys
Big
did, you
Mac.
guys did it with some pork collar this time around.
we did loin, right?
Was that collar?
We got some emergency collar.
Yeah. A little miscommunication. And I mean, it happened. It doesn't matter.
You know, for me, I think it was one of those things where I was like, and I told them too, I was like, I saw that you guys did bison, so when on the order thing, it was like beef loin or bison. I was like, okay, that's probably what they're going to do for their entree. And then I read the menu more, and I was like, well, they're doing beef tartare. Like, I mean, maybe they're going full circle with this. And I'm like, I should probably ask.
During
'cause-
pre-shoot, I was like,
I should
yeah.
probably ask.
No, it's like I filled out a lot of our order requests while we were driving through like Idaho or some shit.
Some on the road gossip.
And it never synced to the Google Doc, so he only had like a
Half
third
of
of our
it.
order guide.
Right.
So yeah, we found some pork today.
Hey, it's all good, and made it happen.
Yeah, it happened.
It's all good. Yeah.
Yeah, we just simply roast the pork, just salt, kind of just portion it, and it's all about the sauce at that point, which is the way left from making the cheese on the endive salad. A lot of butter, a little bit of
A lot of them.
white balsamic vinegar, smoked trout roe, pickled coriander seeds, which are pretty cool.
Fuck ton of chives.
Lots of chives, lots of tarragon.
Right.
Yeah.
You just pickling the coriander seed, like, do you blanch it first, or you just...
No, we just we boil it in shiokoji and black vinegar, and it's
Oh.
pretty cool flavor. There's some over there if you want to try it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. That's dope.
Yeah.
Do they get gelatinous, like mustard seeds, or...
No, there's still
Stay kind of crunchy.
still a little bite to it, but it's
Yeah.
not like unpleasant.
It's like a little
Right.
pop. It's like biting into like a
Green
trout
peppercorn
roe or
kinda?
something.
Yeah,
or-
yeah.
Oh.
A little more toothy than that, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. We only put like 6 seeds in for each batch of sauce.
Mm-hmm.
So
And where is home base when you guys aren't traveling?
the
Right
car's
now we
parked
live on-
right there.
Right now we live
it.
on the road semi-permanently because our apartment in Santa Monica is something that we were like, okay, let's move closer to rustic. When it was the pandemic, because Andy was at the restaurant every day, just made sense to not be stuck in traffic for 2 hours
Right.
there, 2 hours back.
Yeah.
So we did that, and then when we were on the road touring, like I said, this is like month 9 already, we were like, we're only home 3 days a month. It's a glorified storage unit at this point.
Yeah.
We're still paying for like the utilities and the Spectrum bill and all
Right.
this stuff, and I was like, storage unit's like $300. Let's just do it. So we
Right.
did that, and then we just build housing into the budget for our events.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the times, like the host restaurant will cover it, and if not, then we just kind of build it into the ticket price. We don't have a
Fucking
brick and
awesome.
mortar, so that 10% gets kicked towards housing. And a lot of the times we just kind of do local Airbnbs, which is great for the dogs too, because they get to run around. And a lot of the times they're like, "Can I come to one of the dinners and give you 2 nights for free?"
Mm.
Yeah.
Cool.
Tiff forces the barter system.
I don't
A lot of
force
people-
anybody. I just put it on the table, and then I'm like, "All right, so you got free shit and I got free shit.
Right.
I gotta sleep, you gotta eat.
Yeah.
I think we have a deal here."
It's,
And
it's
they're
been
like,
really,
and they just kind
That's
of
a pretty
like,
good-
"Ugh."
Right.
it's been really cool. Yeah. We've
Yeah.
stayed at a lot of great places that we would go back to if we're in that city again.
Right.
We're doing it right now in
So you're
Oakland. We always go back to the same Airbnb.
Forging relationships.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
This is how we got the bear too.
Mm.
Barter.
The burr.
Yeah.
Bear, elk, antelope.
Where's the next stop?
Napa,
Yeah.
St. Helena, Cliff Family Vineyard.
I saw that. How the fuck does that happen?
They reached out.
They reached out.
They reached out.
They reached out. I think one
So
of their.
nice.
Yeah, no, we went and toured, and they put us up in this like, guest house that they have that's in the middle of the vines and everything.
Cliff
Ugh, it
Family
was so
Winery doing
romantic.
it right. Charter
So-
Oak,
Dogs
you
just
missed
running
out,
through.
Hey,
bro.
yeah, Friday, Saturday. this Friday,
Yeah.
we'll be up
Yeah.
there.
We're writing the
Yeah.
menu after this podcast,
There you go.
based on the waste from this dinner.
Well, go visit
go.
my old stomping grounds right
Yeah.
across the street.
I will.
Go have
Yeah,
some
come
lunch.
check it out.
Have a burger.
Have some burgers.
Did last time. We had a great lunch.
Oh, very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
St. Helena, it's an amazing little town there.
Yeah.
So cute.
Yeah. I feel like I'm in those little Christmas towns with the railroad. I mean, and
Oh,
there's a
yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
railroad. It's like,
Right there, yeah.
yeah. Did you know that used to be Chinatown? St. Helena was Chinatown.
No.
What?
Like right where the Charter Oak is and all that.
Really?
Like, well, I mean, they built the railroads, so
Yeah, that
they,
makes
they
sense.
all had
that-
a Chinatown there,
Yeah.
and
Whoa.
that's where they all lived. So so at Meadowood, we would draw from that kind of history there
Yeah.
because they were there,
course.
El La Bonita Hotel. I don't know if you guys know where that's at,
No.
but that's like the motel right next to St. Helena. That's like where the main center of it was.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
That's wild.
Really painting a picture.
Yeah,
of
yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Well, then
Maybe
you
we'll
wonder,
draw on
like,
that too.
how many other Chinatowns existed that like completely wiped away? You
Yeah.
wouldn't know it, you
Yeah.
know, unless you like, because nobody goes to those little natural historical centers in the towns.
Yeah.
Fucking go in
I
those
do.
We
places.
do.
Yeah, you need. Yeah, you're doing the right thing.
There you go. That's
Yeah.
the
Learn
way
a
to
lot.
travel.
I'm an American history buff, so
Oh,
I'm always
okay.
like, let's go to
Shit.
the Museum of Potatoes in
Yeah.
Idaho
Right.
or something like that. Let's learn it all.
Yeah. No, it's We have a friend that got us into the habit of, if you see a plaque, read the plaque.
Ooh.
Shout out to Zach.
It's not a
Zach
bad
about the
rule.
plaque.
No, and I mean, I don't feel like I've wasted any of my time. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't feel like
It was very insightful.
come out of it. You're like, yeah, don't go there.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad I read that.
Yeah.
You know. So Napa, Cliff Family Winery, and then where?
What's after?
Portland.
Portland.
Oh yeah, going to Oregon. Street Disco in Portland. It's,
Last minute edition.
Kyle Christie's restaurant. Just another guy that I've known through Instagram for
Right.
years. And then Moss in Ashland.
Yeah, we're gonna be there for like a week or significant amount of time.
Yeah, and then I think we're actually coming back down to LA.
Yeah, we got some private gigs. Some friends who are getting married. When your friends get
Dope.
married, you become the chef.
There you
so
go.
we have lots of friends, and
Yeah.
so we're doing a couple of those. And along
Got
with
some old regulars of mine from Rustic that are having a 100-person wedding.
Right.
and a friend of mine that I used to do floristry with.
Yeah.
2 weddings.
Yeah. So private chefing, were you doing in-home, like people with kids? Or was it more like, we're having a dinner
Never.
party, me and the girlfriends?
No, it's so I've done a little bit of everything. I have friends who are private chefs. Sometimes it's just giving them extra hands because after the pandemic, I was like, fuck this. I'm not working for anybody else ever again. I'm tired of it. So I just kind of did my own pop-up things, and in between supplemented little private stuff. Sometimes it's events. A lot of the times it is. I also do private work with like floral design, freelance too, when we're not on the road constantly. So a lot of that has kept me busy because I have some friends in like event florals. So sometimes it involves me having to fly out places, do
Gotcha.
some large-scale installations and stuff.
She used
Dope.
to do all the flowers at Rustic too.
Really?
Yeah.
Flowers, candles, chef stuff.
Multi-talented.
I don't know if I'm multi-talented or just like sick in the head, but I have to be like manically busy or I feel like I'm standing still.
Right.
So it's just like I only have like 100 miles per hour or just like dead to the world for
Yeah.
14 days straight. So.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not good in offices, because
Yeah.
I tend to think that nobody's doing anything because
Yeah.
they're standing at their computer. I mean, they're working. So I'll just walk in and be like, hey, start screaming at everybody, and they're like, we're in a meeting. And I'm like,
We're on
Okay,
a Zoom call
my
right
bad,
now.
exactly.
And you're just like
Yeah.
running in there,
Yeah.
like slapping people's laptops
you're like, I'm
out
going
of
to
their hands.
stop doing this. Like truffle shuffle. I stopped going in there because I'm like, every time I'm like interrupting people saying offensive things, I don't do this.
Story of my life.
Yeah, right.
I'm like everybody's Kramer / George Costanza.
There you go. 2 things. I thought about the beeswax thing you talked about, and it reminded me of Chef Modest Amaro. He used to do this suckling pig poached in beeswax, like straight beeswax, and then he would like pull the thing up, and it would like get cast in it, and then he would rewarm it, and I think they would just like chunk it out.
That's crazy.
It's in the
pretty cool.
it's in the book. His book is super sexy.
Yeah.
Check that out. And then I was thinking about your fish thing that we were talking about, the sustainability. If you're not using salmon, what fish do you go to? What's your next?
Well, so like
guy?
right now it's been black cod.
Right.
But then also for me, and I think this is like a big thing, is like every morning I look at the fish list. I just see what's available. Well, nowadays, like they send it out the night before, like
Night
2
before,
by C and stuff like that. But generally Monterey's like sending out the morning of. And you just kind of look and it's like, okay, well, what haven't I worked with before? Monterey was getting like really cool mahi-mahi from Baja, California. So I just try to see, like, honestly, I've never really worked with rock cod other than, like, making zupa de peixe. So we started using that, but, like, the other thing, too, especially without salmon, it's like, I don't want to run black cod until next salmon season, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, I need new things in my life, you know?
Right.
So it's just looking at, like, you know, for me, I try to stay on the West Coast at least. Like, I'll get Alaskan halibut, and I'll go as far south as Baja, California, but just trying to see what's available and, like, what's fresh every day. Like, what's new at least. And, again, like, black cod's an easy thing to fall on, especially up here, you know, like from Bodega Bay or Eureka or even Bolinas, like, getting black cod super easy. So I think it's just, like, trying to keep it fresh in the sense of, like, you know, the set may be the same, but the fish is different.
Right.
Not relying on one fish the whole time, because I think it's important for the cooks too to like learn how to cook different proteins. But not only that, like the pasta cook Amy, she's been on the station for a while, and it's like it's not about doing the same noodle all the time. It's about like learning new shapes and or like rolling them and stuff like that too. So I think going back to the sustainability of fish, it's like really just trying to keep us intrigued, and then like the fish fresh in the sense that it's like it's something new. It's something that like we're learning how to, like, do we do it in a pan? Do we do it over charcoal? Do we poach it? And all those things. So, and that's the thing I'm gonna miss the most about like salmon is that, for me, I treat it like if it's a whole pig. You know, like break down the bellies, the loins, the collars, the tails, and the bones, and you scrape the bones and get the tartare, and like that's my favorite part about salmon season.
Right. I don't think there's any other fish that can be replicated.
Not like that. I mean, maybe tuna, but like you're not gonna cook it the same way you would cook a. Like I think that's where it ends with tuna. You're not gonna like cook it like you would salmon. You know.
It's also so internationally beloved.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I mean, you can't walk through like a Whole Foods without seeing like 30 million salmon things, or a Trader Joe's,
Yeah.
or like any
We
grocery
got quite the
store.
variety.
Yeah, you can probably
Farm.
get like salmon at some bodegas. You know,
Oh, for
it's
sure,
just
yeah.
something that's just like so recognizable to the general public, and some people are so married in their ways.
Have you tried Dalton's salmon?
No, I was gonna ask you about that. What
I've
do you
tried
think?
it. I mean, the
it's good?
flavor's there. It's just like a mental block for me.
Oh, this is that. So he's the one
3D
that's growing
printed.
it in the.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 3D
Not,
printed.
no, I'm just.
Oh, I was like, I was like,
tried
dang!
that
I was like,
AI
I know,
salmon?
I know AI is making songs now. I didn't know 3D printers were making food. But
Actually, there are 3D printers making food.
that's wild.
Yeah, my friend Olivia just sent me a video.
They're
of
making
like
crudité
a
or what?
Plant-based steak company.
Like some shit that you could eat, 3D printed.
Yes, I'll show you the video after
No.
this podcast.
That's
It's
fucked.
weird. It's really weird. They're like breaking apart the meat, and there's like connective tissue and stuff, but it's 3D printed by like a machine in a factory.
What kind of protein is it?
Fuck if I know, but it's weird. I don't know.
It's probably
Is
tilapia.
the stuff that Dalton
Tilapia.
has is like it's real. I don't get it, but it's real
have to
salmon,
Google it.
and it tastes like real salmon, and it's like fatty, and it looks almost like
Is
salmon.
the texture there? What's
It's
different
been-
about the appearance? Like what?
It's too perfect,
Whoa.
Okay.
but
Okay.
it's like striated, right? So you see the fat. You know, it's orange fish with the white lines going through.
Right.
I struggle to trust real food sometimes.
Yeah.
So, like, all this new food that they're making, I'm just like, ugh, skeeve
Yeah,
that a
and-
little bit.
I'm not sure. I don't think I had like the final version. And he just brought it to taste, and it was cool. You know, I've tried like, I have another friend of mine that's involved with like mycelium and growing
right.
the fake meat, which I'm not necessarily a fan of, but you know, got to try kind of the first edition of that too, and it's weird, man. Like,
It's weird.
it's not.
I'm not anti though. I mean, there's so many like world hunger issues and issues with availability for what we have. So people are like, you know, trying to invest in creating more outlets for that, even if it is a little weird. I guess I'm for, but I don't know. 3D printer meat.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll be enjoying it or putting it on my menu, but
Yeah.
Well, they're saying that all that plant-based stuff is not good
Yeah.
for us or for the environment.
Yeah.
For that matter. What is your stance on that? Like, what? You know, going forward, there's going to be a lot more of these plant-based foods. Like,
Yeah.
what can we do as chefs to stop that? Can we stop it?
I don't.
Don't
It's
you?
the same thing as like the Tesla conversation. Like all these batteries that they're making.
Right.
You know, what's going to happen to that? You know, you're trading one problem for another.
Right.
And I don't know if I feel the same way about, you know, I can't think of the brand names right now, but all these fake meat companies.
Right.
Maybe there's a place for it. I don't think that I'll be using it. I don't know.
It's supply and demand. I mean, if you don't want to see something in the world, you just have to not give it your money and hope that other people.
Yeah.
Right. It's a good way of looking at it.
I mean, it's a business when it comes down to it. If
Yeah.
nobody's buying it, it'll stop existing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It'll stop existing one day too.
The thing is now it's like sort of like carryover cooking. You have like outrage that carries the business on for the next year or two. Like they're not gonna make it, but just the fact that people are pissed off enough to fucking pay attention is just helping them stay alive.
And everybody still has to like try it once to say that they don't like it.
Exactly.
And all those first-time buyers.
Exactly.
We were listening to a podcast that was like it was like a Henry Rollins interview, and he was saying that every good thing he does in the world, like even when it comes to charity, like his motivation is rage. It's never like coming from a good place. Rage is very motivating, and I identify with that so much. Just like always running on rage, just seething.
I mean, I've helped people because I'm angry. You know what I mean? I mean, like, just let me fucking do it. You know, it's all good. What do you think the dinner table looks like 20 years from now? Do you think it looks like farmed salmon and farmed vegetables?
I don't know. Have you seen,
not farmed. I'm sorry. Created.
Yeah, printed.
Printed. Yeah.
3D like machines that are just like made out of plastic, making microgreens for you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's going to get a lot more expensive to go out to eat, exponentially. I think that you're probably going to stop seeing as much like real chocolate and coffee and all those, things that their climate is kind of disappearing. It's not a happy thing to think about.
Right.
I don't know.
I think you'll see more mushrooms for sure.
Yeah.
Like anything that you can grow in a controlled environment indoors, I feel like you're going to see a lot of hydroponic
Yeah.
stuff. As far as animal proteins are concerned,
Yeah.
fuck if I know. Try not to think about it. Lose sleep.
Yeah.
Well, it's almost like no matter where you turn, you can't do right.
Yeah.
Like everything is kind of absolutely fucked in a way.
Yeah.
And so you just try to pick the best, but at the end of the
That's
day,
how I
it's like,
feel.
Yeah.
And I just like,
It's your best.
people don't like hearing that, but like,
Yeah.
but it's not looking good in my opinion.
No. But you can't solve everything.
Yeah. I think it's such a hard thing because, especially nowadays, I find when people talk about like the food system and stuff like that, it's such a complicated conversation and complicated issue because even I had a cook here. She was working for the Oakland Unified School District, and she was talking to me about even their regulations that are by the state that make it so complicated to get somebody or get children really healthy food or something that you just think should be natural, right? And I think it's always interesting to me listening to these chefs who are super they're obviously doing really good stuff and they're running really incredible restaurants, but sometimes they talk about this food system and stuff, and it's I don't know. It's a lot to think about. It's a lot to say that this one restaurant's gonna change the food system. I think there's plenty of restaurants out there that are making these things of plant-based or I do this or I do that, and it's are you really though? And it's hard to do it. It's not even here. It's not we can save every single thing. Like I said, I was making kohlrabi noodles. You use the S peeler, and there's waste, and there's times where I salted it, and there's times where I was we have too much, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it later down the line. And you have to be smart about it, and you have to pick and choose your battles, and you have to the only thing you can do is try to do the best you can. And the other thing too, it is going to get more expensive. The crazy thing about working here in San Francisco is in July, what people don't realize is that in San Francisco, July, the minimum wage is going to $18.07. So it's about to go up another $1.08. Right now it's I want to say $16.99. So that's not just our minimum wage for everybody here, right? who would need to bump, but it's everybody else's like increases that are going to happen that we have to order from. And then you want to support these small farmers and make sure that like they still survive. You know, same thing like what Tiffani said about like where your money's going is like what's going to survive. You know, like if you don't spend your money on these fake meats or whatever computerized stuff that's going to happen now, it's like that won't be a thing. But like for me, I've chosen to stick with certain farmers, and there's just certain farmers that have more stuff during different seasons and other farmers who have less, and that's just the way things roll. But when they have stuff, it's like, okay, I'm committed to you, and I want to make sure that you're like driving this menu, you know? And I think it's same thing, kind of like how we were talking about earlier when you kind of brought up price points, like even though you're trying to do all these things and it's zero waste and all that stuff, it takes a lot of labor too. Yeah. It takes a lot of mason jars. It takes a lot of storage. Right. It takes a lot of effort. And that's even when I private chef, there's times where people were like, it's like, I'm charging this much because you're asking me to do something. Like somebody hit me up one time and they're like, can we have like lunch and dinner the next day and all these things? And I knew them well enough where I like grabbed all these things, right? Like I know this guy loves baguette, and the assistant's texting me like, oh, can you make sure you have baguette? And I was like, dude, I already have it. Like, I'm on my way. And it's like, you do these things because, like, you're so experienced that you know, and you have to charge these things, right? And I think that's, like, the hard thing is that trying to communicate that to people through a price, right? Because you look at something and it's like, this is a salad and it's $18, you know? And it's like, well, dude, like, that salad came from, like, these farmers who were doing the best they can in these circumstances. Yeah. You know, and it's not easy, right? You get hit with pandemic, you get hit with, like Front Porch Farm, luckily they survived this whole time because it was the pandemic and then it was a drought and they got like just destroyed with like all those things. Like the hard thing with them is that they didn't have like a reservoir of water. So the state shut down their like water access. So they can only do so much, you know, and then now they're coming back and they have these beautiful lettuces and all that stuff, and it's like you try to get as much as you can from them and support them. And that's what people have to understand about coming to these restaurants and restaurants like this. Like, if you want to see these things survive, like, that's how you help, like, maintain this food system. At least this one that, like, lives in, like, our heads and, like, what we try to do.
Right.
Yep.
You know?
The most profoundly political thing you can do is spend your money.
Yeah.
Place that you want to support. I mean, like you're saying, it's just like you can't just charge somebody something. It's now you have to explain the value of it and why you're charging, how much you're charging.
Yeah, and I think that's what's hard about, you know, pop-ups and stuff.
Right.
That people don't necessarily know you or know what you're about. You know, if you have a restaurant, you've established yourself and you have a reputation, you know, the value is there, but, you know, with a pop-up traveling around, it's not necessarily, you know, we definitely adjust prices depending on where we're at. We usually gauge by, you know, the host restaurant what their price point normally is, but, you know, it's still, I feel like dining out should be a luxury, and we shouldn't be afraid to charge what we have to, but then there's the risk of, you know, not selling enough tickets because you're too expensive.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just like it's gonna have to get more expensive as minimum wage goes up, as, you know, the cost of ingredients goes up.
Yeah. I mean, we always try to find a balance. It's just like we price our tasting menus to cover the cost of everything it takes to preserve all of this stuff. If you saw our P&L, how much we fucking spend on mason jars and stuff, it's crazy, plus all the unclocked hours, the travel and stuff like that. Then we usually try and balance it by doing something financially inclusive, like a la carte or a sandwich pop-up or something. You can spend as much money as you need to, whether it be $10 or like $200. And I think that the tough conversation is, you know, as a restaurant, it's hard to tell people, no, it's not too expensive, you're just living outside of your means. Whereas it's a little easier to say that as a pop-up because we don't really have any bosses who are like, dude, you can't say that to the guest. Yeah, but it's true. It's like if you can't afford something like a tasting menu, it's because it's not the tasting menu's fault. It's not the host restaurant. It just means like you have to live within your means, just like I do. I can't afford to go out to eat a tasting menu, which is why we also do things like sandwiches and hot dogs and things
Right.
like that when we're on the road.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes when I chose like working at restaurants, I chose it because of the food they had there. Like I was
Yeah.
like, I get to work at Meadowood. They have the best ingredients in the world.
Yeah.
From their own farm.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm going there. And like I had Harold, Chef Harold Villarosa on. He's opening up a restaurant in Oakland, and he was telling me that he worked 3 jobs, saved his money, and went to Noma to go do the stage. He didn't wait for anybody to give it to him, or he just went and got it.
Have a good night,
You know what I'm
Chris.
saying? Peace out, bro. So, suffice to say that the world is fucked. It's not fair, and you do what you do with your advantages, and others will do the same. Like, people get mad at rich kids all the time, and it's like, it's not their choice. They were born into a family that has a lot of money. That in itself comes with its own set of problems, and it's almost like you got to pick your set of problems that you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
Like, do you want manager at Starbucks problems, or do you want we didn't get the right pork in, or whatever the fuck problems?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, we just didn't get the pork. It wasn't wrong. It just wasn't here yet.
I know. It's like, Chef, you don't need to do this. And he was just like, I do.
I
No, you
must.
don't.
I brought shame.
Yeah. He
Shame to my
He rode the
family.
shame train all the way to the butcher. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, you can afford to eat out or you can't. I mean,
Yeah.
If not, you have to kind of learn the skills. I mean, there's a carpenter that I follow on YouTube, and he was just like, if you don't know how to do it, you're gonna have to. I mean, if you can't afford to pay somebody to do something, you need to get
Good
better
night,
at
Jules.
being poor.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye, thanks.
Hi.
Joe.
You got to get better at being poor. You got to learn how to do things. That's just the way that it works.
Right.
If you can't afford a table, you should learn how to make a table. Like, it's kind of like the whole teach a man to fish thing.
Yeah.
Right.
I think you're going to see a lot less people dining out and a lot more people kind of leaning on these subscriptions where you get groceries in the mail and you learn how to make little simple recipes, and people will just expand on that.
Truffle shuffle.
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting thing too. All
I have
those
chef friends
subscription
who do
stuff.
too.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the time to like think about what they're gonna eat, so it's easier to get these like subscriptions. I think we're gonna see a lot more of that,
Yeah.
and a lot less dining out.
Really.
I think so.
Yeah.
So then, ultimately, commodity farming will take over. No,
yeah, probably.
because we're the only ones that are sustaining the small
Yeah,
farms.
and it's not easy. We all know, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's frustrating. It's sad. It's not fair, and try to have fun while we're doing
Yeah,
it.
right.
Yeah. I mean, I would like talking about this stuff.
Come
like
to the
now,
next pop-up,
now when
guys.
you're, yeah,
Yeah. I need to drink after this.
yeah, when you're like, oh, I lose sleep over, I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm asleep tonight. But
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I feel like I live in this like fantasy world, and like what I really, really love about being here is like having the ability to work with these farmers, like, and it's nothing against any distributors because some people do some really great stuff. I really love what Rick does at Cooks, but it's just a decision I made to work with certain farmers. And for me, there's no end for that, right? But there really is. Like, at a certain point, like, you see farmers now, some of them are getting older and they don't have this, like, person
David
to
Little.
take. Oh, my God. That's exactly who I was thinking about. And I was
Literally.
talking to them earlier about it, too. David Little is doing, I thought his potatoes, like, especially when I first started here, were incredible. He does dry farm potatoes, and there was nothing that tasted better. There was nothing that, like, was more of a perfect potato. And now it's like you get some crates, and it's nothing. I love David, and he's like, he's definitely a space cadet, but he was really good at potato farming. And then now it's like you get some, and it's just like, God, it's just not there anymore, you know? And there's other people doing potatoes, and are they better than what the peak of potatoes were with David? No, but they're better than they are now, unfortunately. And it's like, it's just the reality of it, right?
Yeah.
And you have to support people while they're here. You have to help them through their transitions too, as much as you can. At a certain point, you can't also like just support people blindly. The thing of it is here is that for the most part, everyone's shopping at the same farms. Everyone's shopping at the same markets and all that
Right.
stuff. And, sure, there's certain farmers that, like, there's one farmer I can think of that, or two farmers I can think of that, like, not a ton of people work with just because, again, like, also their land. That's something you have to think about, too. Like, we work with Kibo Farm, and they have, like, 5 acres. That means they have 5 rows of, like, field that they can dedicate to whoever. And we're fortunate enough here, me and Francis, we meet with them every January with our like plan of what we're going to plant for the next year. And same thing with Miriam. But yeah, Medium Farms, and what we try to do is like just support them as much as we can. But yeah, I mean, the other thing too is we also have to go with the flow and change with the times and figure out the best product, because at the end of the day, like, food is going to be expensive. Here, it's a constant conversation of pricing and all that stuff and trying to be smart about it. But also, like, at the end of the day, like, the food has to be really good. Like, we can do whatever. We can ferment whatever. We can charge whatever and do all these things. But if it doesn't taste good, like, it doesn't really matter, because we failed at every other point. Like, we've gotten the sourcing correct. We've gotten the pricing the way it needs to be. But if it doesn't taste good, then none of that effort, like, is worth it.
You had one job.
You had one job. And I think that's the biggest thing is, like, yeah, making good food. And you can say you work with this farmer, or you work with this person, or you ferment this, that, and the other, or whatever. You butcher a whole animal. But it has to be good, and I think that's the biggest thing here. And, it's also hard to... I've heard it on your show. I can't remember, like, who the podcast was with, but, I mean, food, it's just such a hard thing because there's so many points you can relate it to and be like, well, I have this... My grandma makes this, and it's like, it's better than what I paid for here. And it's like, dude... Okay, but this is also a business, you know? Like, this
First
is
of all, fuck your grandma.
But, you're paying for a lot of things when you go out to a restaurant. You're paying for the plates that you're eating off of to get washed.
Yeah.
Right.
You're paying for the linen that you're using to wipe your mouth. You're paying for the toilet paper in the bathroom. When
Right.
you go
I mean, you
relieve
pay-
yourself.
yeah.
It's just like a whole list of things that people don't think about, and so it's just like
Yeah.
it adds up.
And
All
you-
those little things.
And as a restaurant, like, I don't put in the toilet paper, right? You put in that you buy it, but you don't put a 1%, maybe
I like where this
0.2% on the,
conversation's going.
you know what I mean, on the invoice.
Yeah, that's
Just
the
to
thing.
be
There's
like,
so many
hey.
undocumented costs.
It's
and
be
stuff.
like, well, we know the bolognese, we need to put a higher percentage on that one because
This is the TP tax. This is the TP tax.
Yeah.
TP tax.
Well, and that's... yeah. That's
we're
gonna
coming up
be-
with
yeah.
some new things over here.
Oh,
You see, that's why we need these chefs' tables.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of... And it's such a... Even, like, talking about it earlier, this food system, it's such a gnarly topic to have. And again, maybe, like, I just choose to live in this, like, la-la land that I get to live in. But it is a scary thing because, like, 10 years from now, like, who knows what it's going to be like. Like, these farmers aren't going to be here forever. And the other thing, too, is, like, for the most part, like, I think the median age of farmers is, like, 60 or something like that. And
Yeah.
it's like,
There's no lineage. I'm not seeing any lineage here.
yeah, there's not a
Like,
whole
who's
lot.
David
yeah.
Little Jr.?
Well, that's the hard thing, yeah.
You know,
You
Although
have
I will say, there's a whole new generation of young farmers popping on.
there is.
Yeah,
There is.
statistically, there's a lot of people going to school for agriculture now,
Oh,
especially
cool.
here in
Yeah.
the Bay Area. There's a lot of programs.
That's an hour.
Yeah.
And in Southern California, and people are doing it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's people in like the Midwest and stuff who like want to get out of the family business.
There you
and
go.
it's weird because all
Right.
of these people who are growing up in cities are like, I want to work with dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
That's awesome.
I mean, that's like human
it's
nature,
also a
right?
mental health thing. Like so many people just find it so therapeutic
Yeah.
to just get your hands in some soil. So it's just like, and also feeling a part of the process is definitely a cultural thing that is coming into trend right now, I think.
I think we need to trend that again. Plumbers, electricians,
Yeah.
like that's hot, baby.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like being an actor, being on YouTube, like
Yeah.
we need to put that respect back on the blue collar workforce.
I was just I listen to a lot of NPR,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody was talking about it yesterday that, you know, they like straight up do not have enough vocational workers.
No.
You know,
Yeah.
when I was in high school, I remember the kids that went to the vocational school were looked at like, oh, they're the ones that aren't going to be successful.
Oh, yeah.
When they all make
Looking
more
right
money
at
than
'em.
me right now.
Yo, for real. Like, have you ever gotten a plumbing bill?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh my God. Yeah.
$55 an
Yeah.
hour. You're like, what?
like
And there
as-
was, you know, when I was a teenager, there was definitely a bit of like, there was a lack of respect towards that, 100%. And now,
Well, it's a very corporate business. Everybody's like, you need to go work at the bank.
Oh, yeah.
Work there for 20
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
and you might make manager.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that was something. It was, and I think like me and my brothers have all ended up in this kind of like more, like my older brother does beverage, and then my little brother's kind of doing, he's like acting, and we've all ended up in these things. But like my grandma would tell my younger cousins, they're like, she's like, you guys should go to a trade school and like learn those things, like be a plumber, electrician. Even my grandpa, he was like, back in the day, he used to fix. I can't remember what the brand was, but he used to fix like TVs and VCRs and all that stuff. And now, honestly, like through a chain of like incredible decisions they've made, they've traveled all over the world since he's retired. They've like lived off his retirement this whole time, and it's like he was never like a banker or any of those things. They were just both really, really smart. They work within their means, and they've been able to go to like Paris and Spain and all these things. And he worked in trade.
Yeah.
He was
That's what I'm
fixing
saying.
VCRs.
You gotta get good at being poor. Like,
Yeah.
you,
I
you
mean,
know
yeah.
how many times I had to just like work for somebody for free to learn how to do a thing, so I wouldn't have to hire somebody to do it at our restaurant. Like, it's
Right.
just like it's something that you have to learn how to do. All these random trades, like
Yeah.
blacksmithing, carpentry, plumbing. Like, that's the future.
Change
'Cause
your own
there's
oil.
not many of those guys around, so they can charge like whatever they want,
Right. As they should.
as they should.
I mean,
Like-
I've had to change my locks one time. It's $200
Right.
just to change one lock.
But like, do you know where to start to do it yourself?
I
That's the
mean,
thing. It's like,
for me,
I'm
no,
like,
I wouldn't.
don't
But
care.
now that I know it's $200, I am gonna check on you.
I'm like-
It would take you like 8 hours.
yeah,
I'm
hey,
like,
I'm
this sucks. We had a water heater problem, and I was like, I'm watching YouTube for the next 6 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, I was like, I know exactly what to say to the
Yeah.
guy. Like, I know exactly what it is. It's the mercury rod. It's because California has high water pressure, and so the water heaters needs to be replaced every 7
Yeah, and the
years.
guy on the phone was like, "Yeah."
It's like, damn, you're right. Like, how'd you know that? And I was like, just had a feeling.
My dad told me. Taught me.
oh man.
Jesus.
It's like I grew up in a family where we just like never had money, but we were always doing things because everybody worked in a trade. Everybody had like a side gig where there was like all of my uncles knew how to fucking fix a car.
Right.
But is that what they did for a living? No.
No,
But let me
right.
tell you, that's what flew us to Puerto Rico every summer. So it's like
That's right.
there's like little things like that.
Side
My
hustle.
grandma's just like making pasteles, but she works in a hospital like doing something else.
Right.
But those pasteles got Christmas presents every year. So it's like, you know,
The
like I
side
said,
hustles.
The side hustles.
We stopped working, I think. As like, I guess not in our field, didn't happen as much, but everybody else did.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting thing too, especially since the pandemic. So many people are still working remote. I mean, like,
Right.
I have people. They're like, well, I go to my office like once a week,
That's
and they're like,
weird,
most
bro.
people don't even know what I look like, and it's a strange thing.
Right.
And you know, I think like the pandemic exaggerated all those things,
Right.
but especially like I think for us, and even like talking to you two about other states about not even having recycling set up like as a city or as a county or whatever. It's like
Yeah.
maybe in San Francisco we think of, you know, in this Bay Area,
Right.
like so much tech is running this city.
Mm-hmm.
That's the life out here. You know what I
Right.
mean? Remote. It's nobody really has to like put elbow grease into things or all that stuff.
Right.
And there's a different type of hard work, right? Those people are coding for like 18 hours or whatever, but it's not the same as like being knee deep in like
Physical,
motor
harsh
oil.
labor on your body.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's one thing to burn your eyes out with the freaking blue light, but
Exactly.
you know.
blue light or
Yeah.
back pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to date somebody who said when I got off the couch, I sounded like an old addict
Ooh.
because of how bad I run my
Just
body into the
fucking
ground.
bones.
Oh my
and-
gosh.
Yeah, just like
Yeah, hey, every morning my knees and ankles sound like chicharrones, you know?
yeah, just like crunch.
Cracking everywhere, you know? Like,
Yeah, I'm like, there's not an ounce of cartilage on my body. It's just
That's
gone.
funny.
everything's bone on bone.
It's bone on bone. Just like,
Well, it's so funny because like you'll have that pain because you're working hard, but if you're wealthy, you'll have pains from not working hard.
Yeah.
Well,
from
yeah,
sitting
for sure.
down, from fucking lounging all the time.
Yeah,
So
No winning.
those soft
No.
baby bones.
right,
yeah,
nobody needs that.
Don't trust 'em.
yeah.
It's tough. When I look at the workforce now, I'm like, I see a big split, and there's going to be years where there's kind of a gap in talent. I see that happening in our game, like chefs, CDCs. You know what I'm saying? There always used to be a guy who worked at the restaurant for 40 years. That's going away now.
Yeah.
Like, as the time moves on.
Yeah.
He's got one of those guys.
Well, I think, and again, I want to jump in. I feel like maybe I live in this la la land, but again, like I feel like I am super fortunate here, and then I will preface by saying, like, I think Melissa, for sure, has built an incredible restaurant group between Francis and Octavia. But like, we do have somebody here, Carlos, who's been with Melissa for like 12 years, and he works here in the morning, and then he goes works at Francis at night, and then even like
For 12 years, he's probably been doing this shit.
Yeah.
So she-
Well, no,
until
because
she had Octavia,
because
I'm saying.
Octavia's been like 8 years, so at least
Right,
been
right,
like
right.
8 years now. But it's like he's been doing that, and then I have, those two dishwashers, Frankie and Santos, who just left. They're brothers, and then Frankie's daughter works with us in the morning, who's doing like the bread and all those
Yeah.
things. And even my line cooks now, like I feel super fortunate to have the team that I have because some of them it's like their first restaurant, some of them it's like they've come with experience, but they're incredibly talented, all of them, and they're incredibly driven, and just the teamwork that they have and they've developed here, I've been super impressed with, and I've felt super fortunate with that, and it's like I know, and I've experienced it even here where there's these times of like teams that aren't really like they're not melding together. They're not doing these things that like it just wasn't working, right? There's certain
Right.
things within this team. It's like they've all they all do a really incredible job, and it's like it's about pushing every day and making sure that they're getting better every day, but then also like really pointing out like how well they're doing, and again I just feel like super fortunate, like we've done all these like different types of collaboration dinners, and for them to be able to work with all these different chefs and adapt to their menus and adapt to their styles and stuff like that, I'm very impressed with. But even on a daily basis, like I do feel pretty fortunate to have the team that we have, and I will say I think even talking to people like Andres and other people around the city who have like these teams, I feel like the pool has gotten better. Well, not because there's like these people who come in with like incredible resumes and all this stuff, but like I don't know, like my whole team just like works really hard all the time, and like some of them it's their first experience, but in a restaurant, but they're here to like work and they're here to like put their best effort forward, and we can build a team on that, and I've been super fortunate with everybody here and everybody here now, and even talking to people around the city, it seems like it's a little bit better.
Getting better.
Yeah, but I mean it's still a long way to go, right? And I think about like when I was a young cook, I don't know how you feel or how all of you guys feel about like thinking about where food was going to be when we became chefs, and now we're at this point. And it's like, I remember it being kind of grim before, but I do wonder like what it's gonna be like when like Jack or Amy are chefs or any of my cooks like Blythe or Poe and Son and all them. It's like I wonder what it's gonna be like.
It's like being a parent.
Yeah, like 10
Am I
years from
giving
now,
them
yeah.
the skills they need to,
Well,
to
yeah.
save the restaurant industry?
Well, that or it's like I mean it was nice today, but it's like so Jack's our grill cook. He started with me when he was 18 and like left college and I hired him. I was just like, yeah, we'll do it. And he's been awesome. And he's like he has these intangible skills of like he's constantly trying to get better and like thinking about like, okay, I did it like this, it turned out like this, what if I try like that, and all those things. And he's just one example of the team that I have. Like everybody's on the same wavelength, but it's like Andy was like, oh yeah, like it's good he's here, he's learning good habits. I'm like, God, I hope so. I'm like, I'm trying to like teach him, you know.
I can
like,
definitely vouch for the
it's like-
team here.
it's
Like,
like-
You
it
can,
was
like-
really, really nice working.
You could see when you watch someone cook, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you watch them do the same dish a
Over
few
and over
times.
again.
Or you
Yeah.
can
You
see
see their
someone
habits,
thinking-
or you see like the lack of habit, and 5 minutes in the kitchen standing next to Jack, you could tell he's like on the right trajectory. And then he told me he has 2 years experience, and it's like,
yeah.
Because he has 2 good years.
Right.
Of experience.
yeah.
He didn't
Yeah,
like
it's-
pick up bad habits everywhere.
Right.
He learned good habits at the place that he started.
What's
I
the
swear he-
testament,
Yeah.
Nobody
Like-
broke him.
Yeah, because back in our day, they're like, pick the fucking herbs for 2 years. Shut
Dude.
up. Shut
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
mouth.
I mean, yeah, and that was the hard thing. And it's like, I think the biggest thing is like, again, and I've said this before, it's like about teaching people what I know but not how I was taught. And not just, it is what it is. Everyone learns different
Yeah.
styles. And I always appreciate like everything I've learned and all the things that I've taken in. And was it hard? Yeah, it fucking sucked. But also I really loved it. I mean, I wasn't not going to do those
still
things.
here.
Still here. I mean, it got me to where I'm at, dude. Like
Yeah.
there's some people who like, even I worked with and they'll call me about things. I'm like, how did you not pick that up? Like, how do you not know? And even like I have chef mentors, but one of my greatest mentors was the director of finance at Quince, and I still go out to lunch with her every once in a while, and she just taught me so much about like how to run a business and how things should be. And it's like, that's what you just have to take advantage of everybody around you, and you try to find a good company and get those experiences and be around those people, and you have to take advantage of that. But I mean, the only thing I can do is the best every day of trying to show everyone everything. And the other thing too, like what I've really learned with working with Melissa is trying to be more patient and also like trying to be more vulnerable, not in a bad way, but there are times where it's like, like I'm really trying to work on myself to manage you better because I haven't been a good manager to you, or I haven't been a good chef because of this thing or the other. And I'm trying to work on this. And every month I sit down with everybody to make sure that we're all on the same page and we understand. And sometimes I have to explain myself. And be like, hey, this is kind of like how I think about things, or this, that, and the other. And it's like what I really want. And everybody works really hard. But the biggest thing is like, I want everyone's ideas, but I also want to make sure that you guys are really like learning the foundations and the like standards of what we have to do here, because at the end of the day, like I have ideas too, but if we're behind on prep, like I can't just like stop what I'm doing. And this is something I learned at Quince. Like I remember like working on a dish because like my station was set up, but then everyone else around me was going down, and the chef's like, I don't even want to try that. Like, why are you doing
see what's
that?
happening?
Yeah.
Everyone is going
the world
down.
is burning.
Nico, what the fuck?
Yeah, and I'm like,
You're like,
fuck.
but my 9 pans are full.
Yeah, but I mean, my shit's done. No, but and that's the thing is like, even now, like as a chef, it's like I don't get to just be like, okay, cool, like I'm gonna work on these dishes and like just make sure prep's done or you guys are ready for service. I still want to check in and make sure everyone's set up.
I think what you said about vulnerability, I think is, for me, it's like what makes the difference between a good chef and a great chef. Not the type of person that's going to sit there and pretend like they know all the answers, but, someone that can say, I don't know, let's figure it out together. Like that's
Yeah.
really special to me.
Being able to examine new information and to change your opinion based on that is so hard for people for some reason. I think it's so important in like not just in the restaurant industry but in the world. It's just like if somebody does something better than you, then you should maybe change the way that you do things. Or if you find that what you're doing isn't so kosher, then change it up. There's like nothing wrong with saying I was wrong.
Yeah.
Or I wasn't in the right.
I don't know. I love saying I don't know when somebody asks me something because
I know.
it just means that, that like if it's a good question and I don't know the answer, then I'm gonna go and figure it out and have the answer next time.
Yeah. It's that's kind of like a big part of this tour too, is like going into every kitchen and just like assuming that we don't know shit and just
Right.
like standing back and watching people like do service, and then we come back from the experience so much richer because now we just have gained new perspective. And some people get so set in their ways, and the only thing we're set on is not doing everything the same every time and just kind of readjusting as we learn.
Right.
So it's been really
Yep.
it's been really nice to be in this kitchen because it's clear that like there's so many similarities. Like the team was killer today, and they were so quick to adjust.
Right.
Nobody was like, "That's not how we do things" or
Right.
anything like that. Everybody was like, "All right, let's do it this. Let's like figure things out together," instead of like things
Right.
being right or wrong.
Yeah. And I think even like vice versa, it's like being able to have chefs come in here and like learn their styles and their way of things too. It's like it's refreshing for us because I think you can spend so much time in one kind of restaurant and be like, okay, this is kind of what we do every day, but
Yeah.
like working with you guys and like even like the cherry pits. Like I've never really thought of that, and for me, I'm not like I just don't really read that well. So it's like hard for me to read something like a new concept, or maybe not even something new, but something I've never like done with
Right.
somebody or seen somebody.
But when you
do
see it,
it's easier to do. Like that's the whole reason why I went to go to Belgium to learn fermentation, because like there was no reading like the art of fermentation and me
either.
understanding.
I hear you,
can't.
bro.
Like there's no way. Like I'm like,
I like Charlie,
hands
read
on.
it
I'm like-
and then show me.
I'm like, give me the salt and the filtered water and physically show me what to do
yeah.
with it. I don't
I'm like-
care how easy it is.
I'm like, okay, so it is that easy,
Yeah.
But also it's just like it's
Right.
it's just great to be able to, like, same thing with service, right? It's like people do certain things or different things, and it's like, okay, like you kind of fold new things into it, or you take like different cues from people, and it's great to make this place better too, because the whole point of like being in restaurants is like being better every day. And sometimes you can't, you like when you were saying like, oh, I don't know, or like trying to figure out an answer. I mean, sometimes, and I think sometimes it's like how we were taught. It's kind of hard to admit that too.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to be like, well, what the hell do you know? It's like
Exactly,
you
yeah.
know. But also it's like if you don't open that door up, like again going back to some of our cooks, like a good example is like this girl Amy who's on our pasta station. She's really good, and she has like a lot of really good ideas, and sometimes it can be like it's challenging. And I've talked to her about this too, where it's like I was like, man, like even the way she acts and stuff like that. Like I remember, like, okay, one example. It's a weird example, but like she had. I just appreciate how much like she thinks about things in general, right? And like there's things she does that like I would never do. Not even like as a manager at restaurants I was at. Like, like at some restaurants it's like, I mean, I just drink out of a faucet, I'm like not gonna go look where the filtered water is, It's just like you're just gonna take
She's
whatever
over here
you're gonna
cracking
get.
beers.
No. No. This is a dry kitchen, fortunately. But she's just like, she has a lot of really good ideas, and you got to realize too. I think there's those times it's about being open to those ideas and not shutting them down, because, I had this like sous chef who was in my career for a little bit, where it was like he was somebody who was super supportive, and then when things started to like I started doing my own pop-ups and stuff like that, he was like not supportive at all, and he'd be like, "You're not ready," and all this stuff. And I was like, "Well, who's gonna sit here and anoint me? You know what I mean? Like, who's gonna tell me I'm ready?"
Right.
And it's like
Nobody.
you just have to do these
Yeah.
things on your own. You have to be fearless, and that's something I learned from Tuss. Was like, you just have to do them. And I think I appreciate that a lot about people. And again, like going back to this cook Amy, she has a lot of fearlessness in her, and there's also these things of like, you know, getting her to this point, because it's like, okay, you have certain skills where you're gonna be a good chef, but like I want you to get these other fundamental things down, you know. And I feel like there's a lot of responsibility as chefs and all those things to make sure you set people up for that future, whatever it looks like, you know.
Yeah.
But
Agreed.
it can, it's a hard thing, you know. And I think that's kind of like relearning those things and being like everyone has. I feel like I was talking to one of my uncles a while ago where it's like they work in a totally different field, but it's like you got to remember you're talking to adults, you know? Like even though if they're just starting to cook, like doesn't make them, like they're still paying rent, they're still paying bills, they're still doing all these things. Like they're adults. You got to treat
Right.
them like an adult. You can't just treat them like
Yeah. Not like when we were coming.
exactly, you know?
Right.
It was like
There were so many times where I was like, you know, I'm a grown ass woman, right?
yeah.
We need to like talk in a different way to each other.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
because I don't know how to make this sauce doesn't mean like I'm ignorant.
Right.
It just means I don't know how to make this sauce.
Yeah, just means you can teach me, you know? You don't have to like do these things, but
Yeah.
you know, at the end of the day, again, you take what you can and you try to make it better for everybody else.
All right. So I think we've had a great podcast.
Oh.
It was great talking to you guys.
Thanks for having us.
But before we go, I would like to ask one question.
Oh.
And that is, if you were a young cook, who would you work for? What restaurant right now would you be at, and why?
Anywhere?
Anywhere.
Alive or
chef,
dead?
Anywhere. Alive or dead.
Oh,
Oh.
okay.
Not current.
I guess, you know what? Let's do current and alive and dead. I like the alive and dead. I didn't even think about that.
Okay.
Now I gotta give you two answers. Now. I'm
Current
full.
and alive or dead.
Well, I'll go. I'm a big fan of this chef in London. His name's Jeremy Chan.
Okay.
Oh.
I've never heard the name of the restaurant said out loud.
Ikoyi?
Ikoyi,
Is that how
yeah.
it's pronounced?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did
I
12
have
days
been
with
like
him.
stuck on this guy for years now.
Right.
And I think the cookbook's not out, it's coming out. But I just love the way he plates, the flavors, or at least the way he talks about it. It's like gentle cooking of meat and fish instead of like the American, like, let's char the shit out of it.
Right.
It's like a different approach to cooking that I would love to learn, you know?
Okay. There you go.
yeah.
Jeremy Chen. Ikoyi. You heard it here. Andy Doubrava. Big
Yeah.
fan.
Yeah.
He's probably a big fan of you.
I met him.
Yeah. Oh, you did?
There you go.
Yeah. He said it was smashing.
Oh!
Wow. Smashing, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Some
baby.
Austin Powers vibes. I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
It's got the vapors.
Love that.
I think, well, I brought him up earlier, but I think for me, it would definitely be Mike Simaristi
Yeah.
from Providence.
What a guy.
Yeah, I mean, like, I've done events with him, and like, when I left Quince the first time to go to Italy, Tess was like, hey, do you want to go stage at Providence? And I staged there, and I thought it was, like, the most incredible kitchen, and I just think he's just, like, yeah, everything I see about him, he's an incredible guy. He's kept an awesome philosophy, and I also can appreciate, like, how long he's had, like, his CDC's been with him even before he opened up Providence, like, I think 18 years. And the fact that somebody's been with you for so long and you can continue to be a top restaurant and evolve and, like, not even stay with the times, but like lead the times. You know, like it's not like things are the same. They're always getting better, and I would love to like work with him, and I would say like that would be the chef for sure.
Fuck yeah. I like the way you said that.
He's a real one.
Not
He's a
just
good-
leading the times, but
He's a
or keeping up with the times, but leading the times.
For sure. I mean, like, I think about like his Eater Mise en Place video that came out, and it was like the last thing he says. He's like, if you're a chef or a cook and you're not getting better every day, or that's not your goal, like I don't know what you're getting out of bed for, you know. And I think like that's it's a big thing, you know. Like, whatever little small piece, like if I choose to make my goal to be like a better expediter that day, like that's the part of getting better.
Right.
You know, or a better leader or whatever, you know. But it'd be him.
yeah.
I always think about them like when you wake up in the morning, you're like, I'm going to be better today. You really do have to pick and choose.
For
if you
sure.
try to be better at everything, you're going to do everything halfway, you know?
How about you, Tiffany?
Well, hopefully she doesn't listen to the podcast. No offense. But we're actually going to
She
be.
probably does.
We're going to be cooking with Helena over at Milkweed Inn.
Okay.
And I'd say that's going to be fucking cool. And I'm totally going to fangirl on the inside, but try and keep my composure. But I think beginning days of Elizabeth, back when she first opened that up, would have been really cool.
Yeah.
But after reading her books, I'm even more excited to work with her. I think, and not just because she's a female chef, because that's just like an easy box to check.
Right.
But also, she just got such a playful approach to food, and I love how she doesn't take it seriously. And I love a gimmick, and she does so many fun little themed dinners and stuff like that. Like, we were just talking about doing a Harry Potter themed dinner when we were
you and Chef
upstairs.
Ricky.
And I was talking about it seriously. I was like, okay, how are we going to make things levitate? Like, how are we going to do every flavored beans? So it's just like, it'll be really fun kind of working with a chef who kind of takes that approach to food. Like, I always
Right.
do like fun shapes and fun textures and things like that. Sometimes Andy loves it, sometimes he hates it. But I just really
At
like,
least he can tell you, chef.
Compromise.
yeah, compromise.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that'll be a really fun one. But it would have been really cool to, like, while she was still the owner, to have worked there.
Yeah. It's crazy. I think I'd work at Fish, Mr. Nealand.
Yeah, dude.
I mean,
Oh, okay.
he's leading just a whole generation of cookery over here.
Yeah, for sure.
So
People are
cool.
aging fish more.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, not saying that he invented that. I think the guy down in LA, dry aged fish guy, he does great. I'm sure you guys
Anyway, yeah.
bought shit from him.
Yeah.
But I think he does the best.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I mean, for me, like where I'm sitting, he had the biggest impact on professional cooking that I've seen in
Yeah.
my 20-year
Since the
career.
Keller book, I would
Yeah.
say for
Like
sure.
everybody was talking about that. Everybody treats fish that way now. Like,
We had the
way to go, Josh.
Yeah.
privilege of being at one of his demos
Yeah, we
at
saw him
Now
at-
Serving. And
the-
he's so fucking nice and humble. And it was just so amazing to, like, be at the table that he was breaking down fish at. And he used black cod. So it's like a fish that I had worked with but never taken the same approach to. So it was pretty cool
Yeah.
to see.
Yeah, that was wild. Watching him cut a fish. I've never
Yeah.
Made it look
seen-
so easy.
Yeah.
And it isn't. It's not.
I'd like to have him on the show and see, like,
He's a
Sometimes
talker,
you just
man.
He
come
was
up with
just
that
here.
shit.
Yeah,
he
he
was just
was,
out
yeah.
here.
He was at Charter Oak like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
I was in Palm Springs.
Oh yeah, you were slang.
I was at Coachella, slanging wings.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good list of chefs.
Yeah, I
That's a
think so,
great
too.
list of chefs, guys.
We didn't go with any dead ones.
No dead ones.
Dead chefs. Who you got?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I would think can't think of anybody.
I mean, Robichon. Just for like, I just want to be next to him for a day and see what he thinks about. Like, what is he, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what even does he think about? I don't know.
I would, not a specific chef, but I saw a picture the other day of like an old French kitchen, like wood-fired stoves.
Right.
Not like a cool wood-fired grill, but you know,
Yeah.
like no gas, no electricity. I would like to do that.
Right.
I was gonna say, not a specific chef, but like one of those medieval chefs that like makes birds pop out, live birds fly out of like minced pies and things like that,
I like that.
or like cooks peacocks
Magic.
in this like yeah, those magic medieval chefs,
I
and
like
they're just
that.
cooking over a hearth. It's wild.
Yeah.
Hearth cooking. It's getting up there.
Well, I think that's an interesting. Sorry, and I'm kind of ending, but
No,
to
it's all
talk
good.
about like impacts. I think, you know, like talking about Josh Nyland and all that stuff, but like, you know, I think Joshua Skeens had a huge impact on hearth cooking, right? Because like if you think about like even the French Laundry redid their kitchen and put a hearth in there.
Yeah.
Like who was cooking with hearths even at a one Michelin star level? And I think you could make the argument that maybe Etchebarri was like a
Yeah.
one of those ones too.
I'd say
but-
Chibari for sure.
Yeah.
We had a Jasper.
yeah. But I mean,
Skeens
like,
broke our Jasper, actually.
that doesn't surprise me. I'm
They
sure
made
he-
the fire too big.
yeah, bursted into flames.
Yeah.
but-
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I ate an Angler in LA, like right when they opened, had a phenomenal meal. I think he was still involved
Yeah.
to some extent. And it changed the way that I, look at dishes and stuff.
Yeah.
We couldn't have a hearth at Rustic, but I had two conros next to each other that I
Right.
was trying to
Poor man's hearth.
Makeshift.
But I also appreciate about Josh is that there's like a very thick layer of like mystery to the guy.
Oh, for
You
sure.
know, he doesn't have like all the cookbooks. He doesn't have all the interviews, and
No.
everyone
it's
that
so
I've
cool.
met that has come from his era of saison is like on another level.
Yeah.
I've heard many people say that he's the best cook they've ever seen.
Yeah.
Heard many people say that.
Yeah. I would say like, I don't live with like a whole bunch of regrets, but I wish I would have spent time there. I wish I would have made that jump to like go work at Saison while he was there.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's like news. Like when you see the news in America about Mexico, it's like fucking cartels. As soon as you go there, you're gonna get kidnapped. It's horrible, right? Right?
Okay, I
That's
see
the
where you're
news
going
about
with
Mexico,
this.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Skeens, what was it?
Yeah.
You're not gonna make it past 6 months. They
Yeah.
fire everyone. The CDC's only been there for 2 months. Like nobody makes it. That's the horror story they used
Those
to tell
are-
you.
those
about
are
that
terrible
stuff.
stories.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
So it's like it doesn't make you want to do it.
Yeah.
I think what I've learned in life is like you gotta go see it for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, as dumb as it may seem, and we all do it as cooks. Like, hey, this smells bad. Hey, do you want to smell this? Like,
Yeah,
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 sure,
yeah.
I'll smell it. Hey, Rob, come here. You know what I mean? Everybody's like, get in on this. You really got to confirm
Right.
before
Yeah.
we throw this away. But
I feel like you're drawing from like some seriously specific memories.
it literally happened so many times. You know?
He smelled so much.
Yeah, like you go into the fucking, back from the weekend while purees are good. Sniffing in the, you know what I mean? And you're like, I don't think this one's good. Hey guys, second opinion. And they're like,
Let's get a third opinion.
yeah, your third opinion. By the time the sixth person's like, well, you're all like on the fence, so we're just gonna throw it away. Like, we're not even gonna staff it. Just so you know it's bad.
Yeah.
We're
it's
not even
in
gonna
the
stop
family
it.
It
meal.
doesn't even
Yeah.
make it for family meal. So everybody's got diarrhea during dinner service. You're not making it very far. So
We're all in this together.
Yeah.
there you go. Well, fucking Sucio talk.
Yeah.
San Francisco, the first press conference.
Yeah.
Let's call it a press conference.
Hey.
Press out.
Press
Yeah.
These are gonna get more crazy. So just so
Yeah.
you know. So
Crazier
this
than
is-
this?
Yeah.
There are so many lights in this room right now.
This is very crazy. But now everybody can
Yeah.
see. It's gonna look a lot better on camera.
Yeah.
Even though not really, because I was trying to have a conversation at the same time where I'm like editing this. That's fine. That's fine. Anyway, Sucio Talk, thank you guys for being
Thanks, dude.
here.
Thank you.
Come to Octavia in San Francisco. Check out We Are Slow Burn Instagram. Before I go, why don't you guys let them know Instagram handles and websites? Boom, go.
We are slowburn.com. Slowburn was taken. We are Slowburn on Instagram. And shameless plug, our comic book cookbook goes on pre-sale this week.
Oh, comic
Hey!
book cookbook. Okay.
Zinger.
That's a
Okay.
Just want to be different.
Right. Well, let's talk
It's
about
like
that
a
real
zine.
quick. What's up with that?
My buddy Mike Bailey. Hi, Mikey. So he is a good friend of mine from New York City from when I was like a snot-nosed line cook. I was friends with his roommate, and we both worked in the same kitchen. And Mikey is just like a really talented painter and illustrator, fly fisherman, and nice guy. He is going to be illustrating a cookbook, comic book that we're doing. We're going to do something farmed and something foraged in every volume. So it'll be like one vegetable, one foraged thing, for example. And we'll do like 8 to 12 recipes with illustrations. That way it's just less of like jerking yourself off. We don't really like to talk
Right.
about ourselves. So there's just going to be a lot of really fun cartoons. And it's going to be like done in the style of like fun watercolors meets like Tank Girl. So it's going to read like an old like punk zine. We're self-publishing. So there's going to be different volumes. Instead of putting out a cookbook, we're just going to do
Yeah.
pocket size so it fits in your apron.
You know,
Whoa, oh cool.
that's
Nice.
fucking dope.
Hey.
On recycled paper.
That's dope.
Nice.
I think you just started something right there. Just, you guys are starting to
Yeah,
wave.
apparently you don't need to be published by a company. Anybody can print anything.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, I guess we'll just do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we've been working on it for, I mean, we had the first conversation probably 6 or 8 months ago, and now we have like the first of the cover art. We finalized that. It's getting close.
It's we're not going to make any money off of it. It's just a flex. It's just to say we have a comic book. I've
Yeah.
just always wanted to be a comic book
Those
character.
are the things that inadvertently will make you money someday.
So,
They're the
Well, people
things that you
ask
do
us a
for
lot
no
of
money.
questions, and I was like,
Yeah.
let's just write them. Like, it's like
Yeah.
an FAQ, pretty much.
Oh.
There you go. FAQ chef, game informer. Yo. Nico, let them know. How can they find you?
You can find me at Nico _9123 on Instagram, and then right here at Octavia.
Octavia. You guys are open.
5 days a week, Tuesday through Saturday. But we're open up for Mother's Day brunch this Sunday.
Oh my goodness.
don't
chef.
ask him
Shut
for the
it
Wi-Fi
down.
password.
Shut it
Actually,
down.
now that I know
Everything
Apple
but the Wi-Fi. Now
technology,
that's your shirt.
yeah, there you go. Boom.
I'm telling everyone the Wi-Fi password.
There you go.
You already told them your phone number, so I believe you.
Exactly, right? That's not my actual phone number, chef. Oh.
Oh. Send them to the rejection hotline.
It's a Google phone number.
Hell yeah.
Oh, nice.
Unfortunately, I didn't know this when people call you. The caller ID just tells you who they are, because if your business is on Google and you call me from a business, it'll say like call from Octavia.
Oh,
Yeah, because it's a Google phone number.
It's computers.
weird.
man.
Wowza.
Mark Zuckerberg shake. All right. You can check out Slow Burn and their new NFT pop-up restaurant. Other than that, peace out, you freak bitches. I'll see you next week.
Check you later.
gross.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, it's so weird to take these off.
Yeah, now I'm like, whoa, this,
My ears
the
are
sound.
sweating.
I'm like, did it always sound like water in here? I know I've had to pee the whole time, and also I'm right in front of the door draft, and